7 national parks in the United States where the greatest number of individuals have vanished. There is a quantifiable issue with disappearances in American national parks, from the Grand Canyon, 56 missing since 2018, to Yosemite with 10 active cold cases, and the Great Smoky Mountains, which has over 1,600 documented missing persons instances. Although the causes are typically unremarkable, the total amounts are significant. This is the genuine data from the National Park Service. According to National Park Service spokesman Cynthia Hernandez, more than 2,200 persons were the focus of search and rescue operations at United States national parks in 2024. The majority of those situations resulted in the person being located, usually in a matter of hours, but occasionally in a matter of minutes, when youngsters are temporarily separated from their parents at tourist centers. However, a few cases don't turn out well each year. Some people are never located at all. Others are discovered dead. There are between 1,000 and 2,000 cases involving truly missing people in the more than 400 national parks, recreation areas, and monuments that the National Park Service oversees. These are people who visited a park but never left, whose whereabouts are still unknown, and whose families are still looking for answers. A list of 25 current cold cases, disappearances, and fatalities that the National Park Service is still looking into is kept public by the Investigative Services Branch. 10 of those 25 incidents are in Yosemite National Park alone. There are 4 in the Great Smoky Mountains. There are 1 or 2 in each of the other parks dispersed across the system. In national parks, the causes of disappearances are typically commonplace: exposure and falls, drowning, interactions with wildlife, confusion in a crowded area, sometimes foul play, sometimes suicide. Although they have greatly increased public interest in the subject, the fringe ideas surrounding several park disappearances, made popular by author David Paulides in his Missing 411 series, are typically not substantiated by the real evidence. These are the 7 national parks in the United States with the greatest recorded numbers of missing persons cases, along with the actual facts and the unique risks associated with each. So, Great Smoky Mountains National Park, there have been over 1,600 cases since 1944. Compared to other American national parks, the Great Smoky Mountains, which sit on the border between North Carolina and Tennessee, have the highest number of reported missing persons instances. Between 1944 and 2010, more than 1,600 incidents of missing persons were reported within park boundaries, according to research gathered from multiple sources. And honestly, since 2010, the pattern has just kept going, with new cases emerging on a regular basis. Now, there are some particular difficulties in this park. It's actually the most popular national park, getting over 13 million visits a year, according to 2023 data. The sheer number of tourists really increases the total number of accidents. There's also low visibility in the dense temperate rainforest, especially in those thick thickets of rhododendron and laurel. Fog, unexpected storms, and sudden temperature drops are all examples of the rapid weather changes you can encounter. The elevations range between 875 and 6,643 feet, and the terrain is super steep and mountainous. Most of the wilderness has poor cell phone coverage, which makes things even harder. And then, of course, there are plenty of water hazards, like swift-moving streams, waterfalls, and those slick rocks. The disappearance of 6-year-old Dennis Martin in 1969 is probably the most well-known Smoky Mountains case. Dennis was camping in Spence Field on the Appalachian Trail with his family. He and 3 other kids were going to hide behind some bushes to surprise the grown-ups, but Dennis didn't come out when the other 3 kids did. Even though it became the biggest search in the park's history, with 1,400 people searching 56 square miles of forest, Dennis has never been found. His case is actually one of the 25 cold cases in the National Park Service Investigative Services branch, and it's still open. Other noteworthy Smoky Mountains cases include Derek Luking, who was 23 when he vanished in March 2012, shortly after entering the park; Thelma Pauline Melton, 58 years old, who disappeared during a hike with friends on Deep Creek Trail in September 1981, and Trenny Gibson, 16 years old, who vanished while hiking with her school group in October 1976. All 4 of these cases are still pending and unresolved. Now, let's talk about Grand Canyon National Park. There have been at least 56 missing since 2018. According to Department of Interior data, which was cited in a Washington Post investigation, Grand Canyon National Park has had at least 56 complaints of missing persons and 6 confirmed deaths just since 2018. It's honestly one of the most popular parks in the country, with about 4.7 million visitors every year. Some particular difficulties in the park include severe heat. Summertime highs in the canyon can actually go above 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 43 degrees Celsius. There are also significant elevation changes, with more than 5,000 feet between the river and the rim. A big part of the inner canyon has very few water sources. In a lot of places, there are steep drop-offs with almost no barrier protection. River dangers are a real concern too, with chilly water, tough rescue access, and the strong currents of the Colorado River. Over the years, there have been numerous aviation accidents that have claimed the lives of tourists, too. According to a retired Grand Canyon Emergency Services chief who was cited in the Post article, the canyon kills about 12 people annually from heat stroke, lightning, drowning, suicide, unintentional falls, and air crashes. Between 2018 and 2023, there were around 60 verified deaths and 56 incidents of missing individuals. Particular cases include Drake Kramer, who disappeared in February 2015 at the age of 21 after telling his father he needed to be back with Mother Earth; Morgan Heimer, a 22-year-old rafting guide who vanished from a Grand Canyon trip in the Pumpkin Springs area in June 2015, and Jongyeon Won, who was 45 when he went missing in September 2017 and was never found. Number 3. Yosemite National Park, with over 33 missing and 10 cold cases. 10 of the 25 National Park Service Investigative Services branch cold cases involve Yosemite, and there are at least 33 reported missing persons instances in the park as of 2017, though the list hasn't been fully updated since then. Yosemite recorded 732 search and rescue operations between 2018 and 2020. The park has some unique challenges, like its huge wilderness areas. 95% of Yosemite is officially classified as wilderness. There have been fatalities connected to the park's granite cliffs and waterfalls, including Yosemite Falls, El Capitan, and Half Dome. The high-altitude weather can change really quickly. Bear interactions are rarely lethal, but sometimes hazardous. Drowning occurrences happen every year due to river and waterfall risks. Plus, some well-known sites tend to entice novice tourists to pretty hazardous locations. Hovhannes Nagyan, last seen in Curry Village in July 1972. Michael Feisery, an experienced solo hiker who vanished in June 2005. George Penka, who disappeared while hiking in June 2011, and Stacey Ann Aros, who was just 14 when she disappeared during a horseback trip to Sunrise Lakes in July 1981. These are some of the notable Yosemite cases. The park's spectacular landscape, vast wilderness, and high visitor numbers, more than 4 million per year, all contribute to this regular pattern of disappearances. Most cases involve falls, drowning, or hypothermia in isolated areas, and search crews face significant obstacles in each case because of the park's 95% wilderness status. Lake Mead National Recreation Area, with over 563 documented disappearances. According to gathered data, Lake Mead National Recreation Area in Nevada actually has the most documented disappearances of any National Park Service unit, with over 563 occurrences. Every year, millions of people come to the Colorado River Reservoir created by Hoover Dam to engage in water sports, boating, swimming, and fishing. Some particular difficulties in the park include drowning, which is the leading cause of death in open water. There are also accidents involving boats, like crashes, capsizing, and falls overboard. The severe summer heat, which frequently rises above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, is another big challenge. And then there's the persistent drought that has significantly lowered water levels, and honestly, exposed places that were previously underwater. Human remains have been found when water levels have decreased. This is especially noteworthy since 2022. Unusual news has been made by these drought-related discoveries. Multiple sets of human remains have been discovered in previously underwater places, as Lake Mead's water levels have fallen to unprecedented lows since 2022. Some have even been connected to cases of organized crime in previous decades, while others are still unknown. Interest in the park's lengthy history of disappearances has really increased as a result of these occurrences. Glacier National Park, with a long history of disappearances. Since the early 1900s, disappearances have occurred in Montana's Glacier National Park. Cases include Frederick H. Lumley in 1934, the 1924 disappearance of brothers Joseph and William Whitehead, who both disappeared on the same day, and, well, numerous others that continue to this day. Some particular difficulties in the park. Many places demand technical climbing due to the extreme alpine terrain. There are direct fall dangers, including crevasses and glaciers. The grizzly bear population is another factor. Among the lower 48 states, Glacier actually has one of the greatest numbers of grizzly bears. The mountain weather brings a year-round risk of cold, lightning, and abrupt storms. And of course, there's the remote backcountry, that with very little access for emergencies. Notable glacier instances include Barry J. Trajan in July of 2020, Eric Helmuth in June of 2017, who vanished in the Bob Marshall Wilderness, and Patrick Whalen in November of 2000. Even though Glacier has fewer visitors, about 3 million per year, than the most popular parks, its combination of stunning topography, severe weather, and, dangerous wildlife leads to a persistent pattern of disappearances. Number 6. Rocky Mountain National Park. Mysterious cases just keep happening. There have been numerous documented disappearances in Colorado's Rocky Mountain National Park, like the 1958 case of 10-year-old Bobby Bizup. His remains were eventually found the following year, but the cause of his disappearance was never conclusively established. Then there's Ryan Pruitt, who disappeared in February of 2019 during a day hike from the Glacier Gorge parking lot. Despite extensive searches, he was never found. The park poses particular difficulties. A large portion sits above 8,000 feet, with peaks as high as 14,000 feet. Unexpected weather variations, lightning, hypothermia, snow, are possible all year round at that altitude. Long's Peak alone has resulted in several deaths, and there's always the risk of avalanches during the shoulder and winter seasons. Plus, unprepared travelers are pretty susceptible to altitude sickness. The Pruitt case from 2019 is especially noteworthy. After leaving for just a one-day walk, his car was found 3 days later, but honestly, thorough searches turned up nothing. his family made it clear he had no intention of spending the night in the woods. There is still no resolution to the lawsuit. Olympic National Park in Washington has been dealing with disappearances for decades. The park is known for its dense mix of mountain peaks, Pacific coast wilderness, and lush, temperate rainforest, which, honestly, creates a whole variety of unique threat conditions. In some areas of the dense temperate rainforest, visibility can be just a few feet. Along the coast, there are dangers like powerful waves, unpredictable tides, and those slick rocks that can be, well, pretty treacherous. The mountains, including Mount Olympus and other summits, add another layer of risk. And then there's the weather. Some parts of the park get more than 12 feet of rain each year. Most of the park has really poor cellular coverage, making it even harder to call for help if something goes wrong. The seashore, rainforest, and mountains each bring their own unique risks, and that diversity makes the park especially challenging. Compared to some other parks, disappearances here aren't as concentrated in a handful of well-known cases. But there's this consistent yearly pattern of search and rescue incidents. David Paulides ran into a pretty confusing obstacle when he looked into the case of Stacey Arras. After he submitted a Freedom of Information request for the original Arras case file, he was immediately contacted by a National Park special agent. Paulides was told, in no uncertain terms, that the file would not be released. Strangely, no real explanation was given for what seemed like a totally reasonable request. As a former police officer, Paulides is especially curious about how government agencies keep track of missing 411 cases. Unfortunately, there isn't a single, unified database for missing persons, and surprisingly, many parks don't even keep their own records of disappearances within their boundaries. Instead, in the United States at least, cases are entered into the National Missing Persons Registry. But the way disappearances happen in the wilderness is usually very different from what you'd see in a city, where someone might be taken hundreds of miles away in just a few hours, thanks to cars and other ways of getting around. This method really has its limitations. And honestly, it doesn't work well for national parks, especially when you think about the victim's age, outdoor experience, or how little they might have with them to survive the elements. The terrain in these areas is also mountainous or just really tough to navigate. One particularly puzzling case from 2012 remains unsolved. Ronald Kirk, a runner and former Marine familiar with the Red Rock Canyon Calico Basin area, vanished in late January. He had a solid history of spending time outdoors, especially around the local neighborhood. So when he told his friends where he was heading, nobody was really worried. Sadly, that was the last time anyone saw him alive. After a long search in an area with well-established trails, search and rescue teams finally found Kirk months later. His remains were discovered less than 200 meters from Turtlehead Peak, which is a pretty well-known trail. Authorities explained the delay in finding him by pointing to an optical abnormality. They said the body blended in with the color of the rocks and earth. But what makes this case especially odd is that rescuers had searched the area several times before finding his remains. Even more curious, there was no conclusive cause of death, and law enforcement didn't really communicate with the family. David Paulides has noticed this same pattern before. Remains showing up close to popular areas and in places where rescuers had already searched thoroughly. There have been several references to Bigfoot and other cryptids from Appalachian legend. The connection to any mountain monsters is just folk devil rumors, despite the fact that many of these missing 411 cases show odd occurrences. It's interesting to note that UFO sightings frequently coincide with these hotspots, sometimes even coinciding with a missing person's disappearance. Additionally, others speculate that there might be a human-hunting occult sect or serial killer on the loose. Some suggest that this could be a component of a sinister, demonic ritual. The institutional indifference has also been seen suspiciously by fringe thinkers. They suggest that a covert government initiative may be the cause of the missing 411 disappearances. As more people become aware of some of the government's careless actions at the expense of residents, such as MKUltra, these concepts have the potential to quickly become ingrained in the brains of those who are in dire need of solutions. Notwithstanding these outlandish notions, there have been occasions in which National Park Service employees have turned down legitimate requests for these case files. Paulides also examines examples of other federal organizations visiting similar locations and carrying out their own private investigations. In one instance, in 2013, the National Guard and the FBI worked together to find a missing child. The transaction, according to a forest ranger who saw it, was between two completely separate enterprises, each of which appeared to have its own goals. The National Park Service, the FBI, the National Guard, and even the missing child's parents were actively trying to distance themselves from one another. The issue's dubious character and the patterns David Paulides records are honestly beyond explanation. Many of these incidents, according to Paulides, take place close to bodies of water around granite rocks. The victims are also strangely, oddly close to one another. This was the situation with Ronald Kirk and Stacey Arras. They were both skilled outdoor individuals. In the instance of Stacey Arras, she only traveled a short distance from the group she was riding with. Large granite rocks scattered the landscape surrounding the cabin, and she was also close to a body of water. What the real data reveals about the reasons behind people's disappearance is, well, pretty interesting. Data on disappearances in national parks shows trends that actually defy several well-held beliefs. The majority of disappearances have commonplace causes. In mountainous parks, falls are the most common cause of fatalities and disappearances. In parks with a water theme, drowning leads. Many occurrences in cold or damp conditions are caused by exposure and hypothermia. In desert parks, heat stroke and dehydration are the leading causes of death. Although they are frequently highlighted in fringe ideas, wildlife interactions only contribute to a small number of deaths. The risk is significantly higher for lone hikers. The vast majority of disappearances involve lone hikers. The buddy method significantly lowers risk in remote locations because partners are accountable for tracking actual location and progress and can call for assistance. Hiking off trails significantly raises the risk, and honestly, that's something a lot of people don't realize. The majority of missing persons instances involve individuals who either purposefully, through off-trail exploration, or unintentionally, by taking erroneous turns, left approved pathways. Remaining on designated paths significantly lowers the chance of fatalities and disappearance. Risk is increased by inexperience. When visiting wilderness places for the first time, people frequently underestimate the difficulties they will face. People who lack the necessary equipment, like water, navigational aids, suitable clothes, are not physically fit for the terrain or have poor knowledge of weather patterns are frequently involved. Crises related to mental health are significant. Parks are used in certain suicide instances because of their dramatic settings and seclusion. In some circumstances, disappearance behaviors that deviate from usual lost hiker patterns are caused by manic episodes, dissociative states, or other mental health crises. This might apply to the Drake Kramer case, in which the young man told his father he needed to be back with Mother Earth. Although uncommon, foul play does occur. Criminal conduct, such as assault, murder, or other forms of violence, accounts for a tiny but significant portion of cases. Instead of treating these situations as straightforward disappearances, park rangers and law enforcement look into them as crimes. And in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains, where the fog swallows sound and the trails seem to shift on their own, one truth remains. People go missing here, and the mountains never give them back.